we've been drinking beer, and we'll be drinking when you get here. Thinking, will I ever be sober? Hoping this will never be over. And I'm drinking beer, and I'll be drinking when you get here. We started drinking liquor so we could get drunk.
We're back, Jay. How long's it been since we've done a podcast? I feel like I haven't seen you in ages.
Oh, you probably haven't. But last podcast, about a year? I think we attempted something at around Christmas, and that didn't work out. Or was it Christmas? When did we?
I don't remember. I know we did one with Nick, with Chef Nick. I don't know, months ago.
Okay.
This is prior. I think it was prior to him even opening the food truck.
Oh, okay. All right.
Man, there have been so many new developments in Timmins. So many things that need talking about, and I don't know.
There.
I wonder if people have been missing our take.
I
our
doubt
fresh
it.
Take on things.
I doubt people even care or even have realized.
Oh, I don't know about that. Some people have noticed. I've been stopped on the street by many
relatives,
parents of ours, and said, "Hey, you're not doing that."
That beer and radio pod.
Yeah. That radio show you got going on. What does Corolla call it? The pod cart.
Pod cart.
You still doing that pod cart? So we are happy to be back. I don't know, maybe reluctantly happy to be back.
We're happy.
I'm happy to be doing this again. Jay twisted my arm again. Would you say that I was the motivating factor in us taking a little bit of a hiatus here?
Well, I think that, and also myself not being in the area.
That's very true.
I think that played a bit of a role in it. But I think beforehand you were kind of looking at winding down. I think you were a little busy with some stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what it was.
Yeah, I got busy. I know the band was doing a lot of stuff. We put out an EP at Christmas time, and that took a lot of work, a lot of hours at one point. So I was feeling kind of burned out, Jay.
There you go.
I don't know. It's just and yes, for the people who've commented online, this podcast will actually make it to air.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess right now we're just talking to each other, but. If you're listening to this, then yes, it has made it to air.
Wow.
We renewed our SoundCloud account and got everything back online. Man, I think the last thing that's on there right now is the Rusted Robot podcast. The one we did with the Rusted Robot guys.
And I feel so bad. We literally we went up to them, we spoke to them, let's do a Northern Ontario podcast exchange online. Let's get to it. Let's do it. We immediately stopped doing podcasts right after that. I feel so bad because a couple of them have been posting stuff. I've been following.
They have been awesome.
Non-stop.
Like the medium has kind of taken off in the area. There's all sorts of people doing Facebook shows, YouTube shows where they're doing interviews with each other and all that. It's been pretty awesome. And I mean, I wouldn't really call ourselves the pioneers of doing this in Timmins
since they were doing before us and done more.
Let's say we're the godfathers of podcasting. We brought it to the mainstream.
Like god uncles.
Sure, that sounds good. The creepy weird uncles that your parents don't leave you alone with.
So next to that, what have you been up to? Next, doing the EP with the band. What else have you been doing?
I've been working a lot. Somebody's on this podcast got to earn some money.
Someone has to. You're right.
No, I've been busy. Been doing a lot more stuff with the band. We've got some shows lined up, and we just played Rock on the River. But a lot of my time's just been hanging out with the family and doing work on my house, that needs to be done.
You guys going out of town for music or like any shows out of town?
Yeah, we're going to Rouen in 2 weeks. Going to play with seminal punk rockers, Bigwig. That's a bit of a dream come true again. We played with them here in Timmins a few years back, and such a sick band. And I'm pretty. They're very melodic, as some would say.
God. Who started saying melodic sound?
I don't know, but every single band that we had on the podcast.
They've all said it. Yeah, we have
a self-proclaimed melodic sound. So, please, folks, bear with us as we work out the kinks of our podcasting muster.
Yeah, we'll see if we do anything better, or if we can change things up and make it a bit more enjoyable for people.
We took our feedback, from what people were telling us, and I think we we decided on a few things that we might experiment with. Like, I don't know what we were talking about before this.
I think
that would be a good idea.
Talking about before, so like podcast wise,
I'm
thinking we were looking at frequency, because we do want to get back to it, make a bit more a routine and more scheduled type of event. So maybe looking at doing it every couple weeks, or
I thought you got us an FM station.
No.
We're gonna be 93.
I remember I reached out to one was a local like TV type thing. I'm not going to mention names. Who gives a shit? It was it was Eastlink, and I mentioned if you ever looking for something, we wouldn't mind to look at a different idea. And they were like, with your name and what you guys talk about, there's no goddamn way we're having. I was like, all right, well, like I even said, like, we'd be looking at doing a different style, something a bit more appropriate, and it was like there was no question, there was no talking. They did not want to happen. It was not going to happen.
They don't want to be associated with two guys operating out of their parents' basement.
So looking at maybe do a bit more frequency, and also looking at make a bit more a standardized like timing, like maybe walk away from these 2.5 hour long interviews.
Yeah, like as much as I really enjoyed the 2.5 hour long discussions, I gotta say that was probably another motivating factor on my front. I just couldn't keep getting drunk once a week in my house and then just wandering up to bed and like inebriated. Mm-hmm. So I think it was probably a good idea to. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea to start. Maybe shortening up the time frames, and some people gave us that feedback too, right? They told us that they felt like it was kind of a chore to listen to you and me talk to each other for but also like 2 hours on end.
I even found that at some points it was hard to find, like when we did like a little news section where we talk about what's going on in the news, it got hard to even find like relevant or meaningful stuff to talk about. So I think this would be a little bit easier if we do it every 2 weeks or so, or 3 weeks. This way we can find, you can kind of build up the new stuff to talk about and subjects and topics. So I think it's a bit, it'll help out a bit more, make it a bit more fluid, make it a bit more interesting, not as kind of a dry as a 2.5 hour podcast talking about the same things every week.
Essentially, that's what it got to, right?
Exactly.
We do the same segments and so on. So we're going to be looking to change it up, and maybe you guys can give us some feedback if you think that it's going well or not going well. Give us some ideas. We love to hear from the people who are actually listening to the podcast.
I want to apologize ahead of time. I've been getting killed by some allergies today. I've been knocked out all day. I took I don't know how many drugs and just a concoction of everything I could find. So if I'm sniffling or sneezing or anything, I apologize ahead of time. I'm going to try to keep it down with some beer.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So that's a perfect segue, Jay.
Most definitely is.
While we were away, Timmins just like boomed in the beer scene, right? We had the full beer brewing operation that just kind of exploded, and in the meantime, we had another brewery open here in Timmins. And these guys have been producing some really solid offerings. And I mean, tonight you picked up my favorites so far that we've gotten from them. And you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure, I did not really forgot I usually do this part of the podcast. So today we got Compass Brewing. So the new guys to town. We're drinking their Polar Day Session IPA. Pretty solid beer. Actually, is one of my favorites at the brewery as well. Yeah. They do have this recent one. It's a limited time one. Johnny Jones, I think it is. Enjoying that one. That one's actually pretty solid. I know the old lady likes like Grisette, but I know some people not as crazy about it.
That one's got some up and down reviews.
You don't like it.
Yeah, I can't say I'm a huge fan, but I've had their bitter. I've had their
stout.
Their stout, yes,
solid. I just had that one.
But I don't know, one that I could drink all day is this Polar Day.
So what would you rate this one out of? Do we do 10s? That's what it was out.
I think we had a scale of 6,
like 7.5.
Yeah, sure. Arbitrary rating scale. Well, since you've always wanted me to rate these things according to what type they are, I'm gonna have to give this a solid 7.
I think I can. I probably go roughly the same. I do like. I've never been an IPA guy, but I don't mind this one. I actually do like it. So I always have a hard time rating the IPAs, as we all know. I've talked about this before. But actually, this one's good. It's not too hoppy. I like it. So I would give it a good 7.5 for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those that like I can see myself drinking a lot of these on a hot day, and that's not typical of an IPA.
Yeah.
You know, you're thinking about drinking a lot of beers on a really, really, really hot day.
You don't look at the IPAs.
Yeah, you're probably going to be looking at drinking your standard imitation of a Coors Light.
Yeah.
Or an actual Coors Light.
Whatever moose piss you want to drink.
Oh, man. So yeah, that's what we're drinking here tonight. Yeah. And I don't know, we're going to just sit here and shoot the shit for an hour. And hopefully we'll come up with some interesting stuff to talk about. Because there's been a lot of developments here in Timmins. We're gearing up for an election, one which you are not running in this time.
I am not running, mainly because I was gone to school, and I'm still not done, so I could not run. And I decided I wouldn't run because, I wouldn't be in the same area. So I still have to, before we get to elections, actually, I'm still technically in school right now. So I finished all my schooling aspect of my MBA, trying to be educated.
You finished?
The schooling aspect, the in-class portion.
I thought the 4th grade finished at June.
In June. So I'm in the MBA program at the University of Windsor, which our friend John Blonja calls the WMBA, which it always makes me giggle.
I hit the microphone.
So we just finished the class portion. Now I still have a placement portion I need to complete, like an internship, unpaid, which I always thought was actually not allowed anymore, or something about it was weird. But anyways, we're doing unpaid internship, and I'm doing mine in Toronto with the Canadian Olympic Committee.
Okay, tell me again. You may have said it, but what does MBA stand for?
A master's in business administration.
Okay, so
it's the most common graduate level degree, but regardless.
All right, so tell me how many jobs at the Masters of Business Administration
factory.
Are they hiring?
Surprisingly, yes, they are actually. Yes.
Sorry, I got to give Jay those chirps because
I do it to everyone else.
He would do it to me for years. About the what is it?
The kinesiology school or factory?
The kinesiology factory. They're hiring down at the kinesiology factory.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds cool. Other than that, have you been doing anything else?
Oh God, no.
With your time. This has been eating up all of your time.
All my time. Well, I've I got to sample a few beers in the Windsor area. And when I say a few, I mean a lot. So they had some great breweries down there. Sandwich Brewery, Craft Heads, Chapter 42, I believe it was the one. I can't remember the name now. And there was a few others, trust me. But yeah, no, tried a lot of those. Those were a good time. But also, just really enjoyed Windsor. It was a lot. I did my undergrad there back in like 07 or something. Mm-hmm. It's very different. It's since like the 08 crash. It's picked back up. It's much nicer than it was. Detroit is completely different than it was.
Oh, really?
We did some stuff.
So you
downtown.
Go hang out in Detroit from time to time?
Yeah, we did like a pub cycle type thing, where it's like a moving bar. There's like it's like it's a big bar with a bunch of pedals, and
I saw that picture.
Yeah, you bike around everywhere, and you're going through downtown Detroit, which in 08 you would not have done that. There's no bloody way you would have been doing that.
So has it become like a bit of a new hipster town?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind? Like gentrified. Like there's areas, of course, that you're probably not as inclined
like
to go
city.
into. Yeah, but overall, it's awesome. I really enjoyed it, and every time I would go down, I really, really liked it. So.
Yeah, nice. So do you think, like, with all the breweries that you tried, you sampled down there, have they got it more figured out than what we've got up here?
You know what? It's I find it's everyone's kind of following the same trend. Everyone's doing a lot of the same stuff. So you're getting a lot. Everyone, I think that community does. IPAs are the big one. A lot of them will do the amber. They'll do whatever. They'll switch it up. One thing I noticed that some of the bit more quote unquote established places down south would do, and this is even in Toronto. I find when they're trying to be different, they do a lot of the sours.
Oh,
which have become my favorite beers.
Oh, they're so good.
It's either you hate them or you love them.
Okay. Full Beard put out a sour a few weeks ago, And I think I was maybe a little bit partial because it may have not been a good sour compared to other sours. I don't know. I didn't care at the moment. I was just so excited that somebody put together a sour.
See, I did try it, so I didn't get to ask questions about it. So was it? And the wife was trying to tell me what type of beer it was. I just drank it. It seemed
sour beer.
Sour. It kind of seemed a bit more like a Radler to me.
Oh no,
but not exactly. But I'm saying it wasn't
sweet, but it wasn't sugary.
No, you're right, but it wasn't as sour as like other typical sours I've attempted to try.
Yeah,
or have tried. So, and I'm not too sure if this was made in the way a sour is made. I guess a sour is supposed to be some different type of fermenting process, like open air type. Allows it to go sour.
Well, I mean, maybe we can bring somebody on the podcast who happens to know a little bit about beer. And I mean, he might be in Windsor right now. Actually, our beer aficionado. Connoisseur?
No, he's not. He's in.
Where is he?
He's in British Columbia.
British Columbia. Yeah, so what's he doing over there?
John Belanger, our beer connoisseur, is in British Columbia. He's actually he's taken a few voice acting classes.
Ah,
yeah. So he's out
there.
Should
we be discussing this? Is this going to embarrass him?
I don't give a shit.
No, he should not be embarrassed. He's got a fucking perfect voice to do this kind of stuff.
Silky smooth. But yeah,
it's excellent.
Yeah, he's out there. Supposedly he's been working on some stuff. He's been working on his lips. His lips. Yeah, his lips. His
Botox?
Speaking. Yeah. He's got some injections done. No, but he's been working on. He's been, I guess, supposedly trying different accents and different styles, and so he's going to come back quite soon. Actually, in a couple weeks, come back, and he's going to see what he can get done.
I would love to see some sort of creative project by that guy.
Yeah,
like whether he decided to start a podcast or expanded on making more films, such as your his best man speech, which was the best man speech.
It was good.
I can't say
he was crying.
I was crying. I was crying. I'm busting a gut laughing. That was hilarious. I'm not sure if it's possible for us to get that publicly available online. Because there are some serious actors in that film.
Who requested not to let it be
I don't know
seen.
why. He gives a hell of a performance.
Yeah. And really, he was only in it for a little bit.
Yeah. If you guys don't know who we're talking about John Core.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And he does give a hell of a performance.
That was great.
Maybe we can get him back on the podcast and get him to agree
to let us play it. A limited time.
We could put it on on our channel, on the podcast. Premiere. It'd be great.
But it was solid. But no, so he's doing his thing, and he should be back soon. So when he does come back, somebody we can have on and talk about the process, or even maybe some brewers in town could come on and tell us different.
Probably a good idea.
Some questions we had.
Yeah, maybe we should have invited one of them before John Belanger.
That son of a bitch. But yeah, so next to that, so enough talking about me and our
shit. I think everybody's caught up on Jason and Corey. They want to know what's going on. What are the juicy details? We've got the. Do we have any inside scoops here?
I don't have. You might have inside scoops.
Zero inside scoops.
I got nothing.
I have been diligently watching social media.
Yes, as I do.
We both do. Do you know what I stopped doing? I stopped watching council meetings.
Yeah,
and I mean, I usually at one point I was watching them every week. And I just kind of got a little bit tired of it. And then I started watching them only when some inflammatory headline came across Facebook. And it was like, you can go back to section B7 to see the outburst at, minute 6 where Mike Duty slams his fist to the table. Which I guess could have been every
segment.
Council meeting. But we are leading up. We're running up to an election in October, as I said earlier, and there's there's a lot of action in candidates. I thought we were going to see less people running.
Yeah.
than last time. But I don't know that we're seeing as many as last time. Like last time, there were a lot of Ward 5 candidates.
See, now, last time was a lot of Ward 5.
And not a lot of mayor candidates.
Not mayor candidates, and not a lot in the other wards. And now this time seems like there's enough in every ward. I was going to have a hard time with that one. And what, like 5 or 6 mayoral candidates?
Yeah, I couldn't name them all because honestly, I feel like the ones that are kind of out there front running right now are our incumbent mayor Steve Black and George Peary, which I had no idea who this guy was, but he appears to be a staple in the community.
Yep.
I gotta say, I was impressed by his when he announced his candidacy. The one thing that I heard him go over why he would be a good candidate and a good fit, and I thought, everything's great there. And then they panned the camera out, and I saw Mr. Joe Campbell and Mr. Rick Dubo clapping their hands, and I said, is this going to be the anti-Steve Black?
Yeah.
Is this
what
this going to be? Is this the kind of campaign it's going to be?
From the outside, it in a way kind of looks like it. The campaign actually hasn't really given off that message. But I have a feeling that he's attracted a lot of that anti-Steve Black vote or position. Yeah. I don't know much of him. I've heard of his name somewhat in passing before. I knew some relatives of his.
Seems like a smart guy, and I mean a very accomplished guy.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt that if the city elects him, I don't think we'd be going to hell in a handbasket. I don't think it would be sitting here electing Donald Trump.
No.
And I don't know that it would elicit that kind of reaction, but I have a hard time sitting here and going, we have to vote for this guy because the current council and the mayor have been doing such a terrible job. Yep. Come on, folks. Come on.
Well, my thought of it is, so there are 5 candidates. I'm looking it up now. Steve Black, Daniel Fortier, George Peary, Raymond Burry, and Lachlan McInnes.
He's a young guy. Eh?
Yeah, young guy.
Yeah.
He's a kid.
I saw that.
Didn't say much in his little press briefing thing.
Okay, the Daily Press put some questions out to these guys. And I don't know who is at the Daily Press right now, but I love the tagline that they put. We sent 5 questions, and we asked for a specific character response, or to respond to the questions in so many words, right? Yeah. These are their unedited responses. And just the fact that they had to put that tagline, and I guess, I mean, full transparency, full disclosure, this is what we asked.
Yep.
This is what they sent.
That's what they sent back.
And, I had an interesting, I thought it was an interesting read. And
it was something.
Yeah, it was something. So I don't know if we want to go over some of the more interesting responses, but I think we ultimately we want to look at who appear to have the best chances to be our mayor, right?
And let's be honest, the 2 are the current mayor Steve Black, and I would say George Peary.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to diminish these other candidates, but.
But we are.
I'm sorry. They probably have a very outside chance of even having an opportunity.
I think if we were to elect some of these guys, I'd be a little bit worried.
Yeah, well, just from some of the responses, I would be. Worried.
I have no doubt that
we're being nice
care.
Right now. Actually.
We're
really
being very nice.
Wow.
This is us coming back, right? But I think that if we were to look at some of the other candidates, and look at some of their responses there, and we'll get to them. I think it would be a little bit more worrisome. I don't doubt that they have passion for municipal affairs and they care about our city and so on. So I mean that, and we're not running, right? You've run before. I've never even considered giving up any of my time to improve my community. That's not true. That's
you knocked on doors, right?
That's true.
When we did attempt,
but
failed.
But I do think that it's important for us to be looking at competent individuals. And say what you will about the agenda that our current council has put forward and that Steve Black put forward. I would not consider him an incompetent person. I think those are unfair critiques. And George Peary appears to be a very competent person considering his accomplishments. So I'm interested to see. I think I want to go. I want to make sure that I know when the mayoral debates are and go listen to these guys talk. Spar a little bit.
Something. Yeah.
No, but I hope the rest of them don't drop out for that debate though, because I think it's going to be entertaining. Somebody's going to call someone an asshole.
Oh, something's going to be great.
You know it's true, right? Somebody's going to pull out some bullshit. That's bullshit, Steve.
I just think it's when I think about the candidates, I do think obviously there is the two are the front runners. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
People are telling me, people are upset with Steve. It's not he's doesn't have a chance in hell. Blah blah blah. I do think that George has a good chance. But what I learned when I lost and after actually helping in how many elections now for provincial and federal, a fair amount now. The vocal minority is loud, but they are just that. They are the vocal minority, but also they you can't discount name recognition. Everyone knows who Steve Black is.
Yeah.
Some people know who George Peary is. No one knows any of the other three candidates.
That's true.
There's some name recognition. There is some name recognition with Peary, but everyone knows Steve Black, and he does have a support base, like a base that's gonna follow him and vote for him. That is a huge obstacle to get over, regardless what you think. And I've heard there was some financial like fundraising on George Peary's part, which I guess did not take very long to get to the maximum fundraising numbers. So he's got some support, got some financial support for sure, which says a lot. But I think people discount how many people know Steve Black and how well known he is in the community. It's a huge aspect. And when someone has run, he's done a
provincial campaign.
Provincial campaign. He's been an alderman. He's been a mayor already. Those are big campaigns which you have to do a lot of work in, and he has the repetitions in. You cannot discount that, and that's what I would also say. People, when I ran for council, I was like, we need new people. These old people, no one likes them. No one likes them.
Everybody.
They all got back in. Next one.
And what was it? Mike Doody, who I don't know if somebody ran the campaign on his behalf. I saw one sign, and the guy got the most votes.
Yeah, he crushed everyone. And one thing, too, is that you have that many people who are running. You are divvying up that vote a hell of a lot more, because you can vote for 4 people here. So people will put 4 votes because they can. They don't have to, but they will put 4 votes down.
Yeah.
But essentially, when you have name recognition, you take away from a lot of people easily, especially when the 4-vote system, where you're like, you know what, I voted for these 2 people I like. I don't mind these 2. I'm going to give them a vote. Which I think is a strategic thing some people should look at doing.
Yeah, exactly. Like because you mentioned that, right? Yeah. Is that I think people are under the impression that they have to make 4 picks, and that definitely is something that candidates who might be running a bit of an outside chance, like they're not incumbents and they want to
they're new or
exactly. They want to really maximize the effectiveness of the votes that they do get.
Yeah.
Is to explain to people that if people don't want to make 4 choices, they can make one. They can make 2.
Yeah.
Right. They can do whatever they please. It's a maximum of 4 choices. So that's our PSA.
Yeah. So candidates who are running,
remember that.
Yeah.
These are election tips and tricks with Jason and Corey.
Yeah, from the failed political campaign of Jason Boston. But I think a lot of people should understand that that name recognition is a huge aspect, and don't expect to get over it. Think about every provincial election or federal election we've had in Timmins, and how loud people are online about how the incumbent, NDP sucks, not blah blah blah. We don't want this guy. He does nothing, and crush the election. Over 50% of the vote going, his way. So let's be honest here. Vocal minority is exactly that, but also name recognition is a huge aspect.
Yeah.
Especially, hey, a lot of these people, like, Steve Black or a lot of these council people have worked with people, have helped people in the community. They have done a lot of stuff for people, hey, they had an issue with garbage collection. They had an issue with bears or whatever. They contacted their council person. They helped them out. They locked in that vote.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of people they've helped out and who are going to support them and who are people who are going to go vote. Not just online bitching about whatever. So people have to really understand that's a huge aspect.
Yeah, and I mean, the politics of it all is one thing. I think you're right about that. Like, people don't typically make as much noise when they're satisfied with how things are going. Some people who may have...
To be fair, I've never heard someone satisfied noise-wise with me, period. That was pretty good. Come on.
That was good. That was cheap and good. Yes. Knocked that one right out of the park.
Keep going.
But the politics of all of it aside, I think... like, there are some big issues at the table now, and there's two directions that the city, can clearly kind of go in. And I mean, it's a valid debate. Like, reasonable people can disagree about things like the Aquatic Center or Stars and Thunder. And I haven't seen a whole lot of reasonable debate online. I've seen some people try to start reasonable debates. Yeah. Like, for a while, they were... on the Timmins, Ontario page, they were the admins and a lot of people were posting a lot of polls, right? Like, what do you say about this? What do you say about this and this and this and this? And then clearly the comment section just devolves into a cesspool of just ridiculousness.
It's always been the same 5 or 6 people all the time.
Well, no. And you know what? I think anybody who gets involved in it, and I think a lot of people, you kind of see the same names kind of.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Take recurring roles in those comment sections, but it's anybody. Like, I've found myself sitting there and be tempted to just have to get on it and
start typing, then delete afterwards.
Yeah, you got to hold back. Ultimately, none of this stuff gets decided in Facebook polls or comment sections. It gets decided with your votes, and I mean, it's serious. It is serious. So I understand why people get upset and get impassioned about it,
emotional.
And I think we've been maybe a bit guilty on this podcast in the past of calling people stupid or idiots or whatever. And I mean, people who live in our community as well. So whoever you support. Just know that people should respect your opinion and should understand why, and you have your reasons for voting the way that you vote. But it doesn't mean that people can't fiercely debate these things, and one side's going to end up winning, right? And then we'll see how it goes, and then in 4 years we will have the opportunity to maybe reverse course if we have to. But yeah, like, maybe we can tone down some of the craziness.
I just think it's fun. It's entertaining to watch. I do enjoy it. I won't lie. I peruse it
Schadenfreude
all the time. Yeah, little Schadenfreude thing. Just watch the train wreck. And I'm interested to see what's going to happen here. I do think.
What do you think the major issues are?
Major issues.
Like, I named a few of them.
Yeah. So I think it's. Of course, it's municipal politics. What's the main issue? It's property taxes. Are they going to go up or are they going to go down?
Well, ultimately becomes that. But I think
road repair.
We talk about specific projects, right? Because those are going to be topics of conversation.
So obviously, I think the big one, of course, most recently, I think would have been the Stars and Thunder.
Yeah, Brian Adams just lining his pockets.
Hey, man. I wasn't here. Were you there for the show?
I was. It was awesome.
It was awesome?
He put on an amazing show. I don't think anybody would disagree about that. It was awesome. I posted a video at one point on my Instagram of everybody who was at the show and multiple thousands of people just singing the Straight from the Heart as he's doing it acoustic. And it was so awesome. Like, I really felt like it was... like, we got to do this next year moment, kind of thing. And I do agree that like we can't keep losing money on this thing, but man, you got to admit, like anybody who's gone out to these things, we can't just shut this thing down, man. There's something there.
Yeah, and is it a change it from 7 to 4 days? Is it change for something? I don't know. One thought I had is you grew up in this town. I grew up in this town. Yeah. We have a lot of friends who, we've been here our whole lives, left for school, come back, whatever, worked somewhere. You remember what it was like in the 90s here.
Sure. I watched a lot of Raw's War in the 90s.
WCW, Nitro. Jesus Christ.
Didn't spend a lot of time outside. No, I'm trying to say.
We were fat kids. If we were pale, we didn't do too much. No, but like even early 2000s, what was there to do in this city throughout the summers, throughout anything? You could say, oh, the 1 year we had this concert, the 1 year we had that. There was nothing that the municipality did in this community to attract or make it fun or anything. You now have stuff like Stars of Thunder. You have the Kayak Challenge. You have some other. Now you have the other community groups that are coming together to do stuff in response to that as well. But before there was nothing happening. So, and everyone wants to talk about property taxes never went up once with Mr. Power. Blah blah blah. Or his main thing was to never increase spending.
Read my lips.
Ugh. But nothing happened. And you know what? Do we need to spend some money to, gamble a bit? Let's see what's like. And when people say gamble, we shouldn't be gambling with taxpayer dollars. But yeah, I get that aspect. It's not gambling. It's trying to make an educated decision and whatever. But I'm not 100% against the idea of trying something.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think we've had 2 years to do it, and I do think there's something there. I think, like you say, shortening it to, and that idea was thrown around for this year.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's arguing with that either.
Well, I mean, I think some people, like the mayor, was pretty adamant about this year it not being a shorter festival, it being just as long, and it lost more money. So, in the grand scheme of things, when we look at the actual amount and the impact on taxpayers and so on, do I feel like it was worth it? Probably. I think it really energized the community in a way that it needed, but clearly it's not sustainable. It's not something that you can keep doing year after year and just keep losing money on it.
What was the official loss on this year?
I thought it was.
I don't know. Like people throw money dollar or figures around online. I have no idea.
Yeah, like last year was like $600,000. Yeah. This year was like $1.89 million?
There you go.
Yeah, it was a lot of money.
Yeah,
like it's definitely and I mean there's so much like heat around like the mayor going and preemptively announcing how much money it was going to be. Like I feel like sometimes people kind of make all this stuff way more political than it needs to be. Like listen, we're Timmins, we're a great city, and the fact that you can stop your mayor at whatever public event and kind of shoot the shit with him. The fact that he would sit here and that he would agree to come and sit on a pod at a podcast with us, twice, for like 2 hours. And is kind of a testament to the fact that we're still living in a very much a small town mentality kind of area, and we don't need to make this sensationalism about certain things, right? If you don't agree with the fact that this lost money and you want to hold our elected officials accountable, you've got your opportunity in October. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I wouldn't. Personally, if I was to talk about my own personal feelings towards it, I'm not ruling out the possibility that somebody like a George Peary, clearly not a Dan Fortier or a Raymond Bury, mind you, this Mr. Lachlan fellow, is it Lachlan?
Lachlan McInnes.
McInnes. Very impressed by his responses to the Daily Press. I thought, I think I hope it's indicative of a trend younger people
wanting to do
really wanting to get, because does he say how, like, I think he says how old he is,
25
right?
years old.
25 years old.
I think the only issue is really, when I saw it, it's like,
just
the reflection on his age was like, no experience, and when I say experience, no work experience either.
Yeah, but he admits that. He does. In his responses, he doesn't sit there trying to say like he's got all the answers.
100%.
Because 100%. To be completely honest, I feel like I'm so sick and tired of people telling me they have all the answers.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. I'm sick and tired of saying like, yes, this is the way we need to do things. Clearly, people are going to make mistakes. Clearly, they're going to have to take chances. That's part of the reason why I like what current council is doing, and what is appealing about their, the initiatives that they've pursued. Things like as much as we've made a big deal about Stars and Thunder, like this aquatic center that they're looking to build, 100% in, 100 million % into that. My kids take swimming lessons. We go to the pool frequently, and it sucks when you're. My sister just recently took her kids out to the pool in Cochrane for the day as like a day trip, right? Because they could have gone to the pool here, but they decided to take their family to Cochrane, which is like over an hour away, and go utilize their facilities because they're more modern, they're more accommodating to families. I think we are due for something that's of higher scale, and the fact that it's being built centralized in Timmins is even better, Like we've got the track and field complex at Ontario. They're going to have a state-of-the-art one at THBS as well. And why not add an awesome multiplex in the middle of town? And I know what the rebuttal to that is. It's like, it'd be great to have all this stuff, but we can only spend what we can afford. 100% agree, okay? But the municipality of Timmins is not your family's roundtable budget.
Yeah.
Okay. There are options for making sure that the city has stable services and has a variety of services that will attract a population, which is important for a tax base, right? I'm not saying that you're dumb if you disagree with me. I can see how you can disagree with me.
You understand their point of view.
I can totally understand where you would have a disagreement about a particular project or a particular cost with a project. And let's be honest here, none of us regular people can sit here and fathom what $80 million really is like, right? So we hear that number and all of it just sounds huge to us. So again, like let's cool it and maybe realize that like the politicians that are there are making the decisions right now. And say anything about Steve Black, he's always always seemed to me like a guy who will lay it on the table. Like, listen, this is a decision that's going to have to be made by the next council, and the people of Timmins are going to make their decision in October how they feel about a project like this. Right? So where's the need for you're an idiot and you're spending us into the grave and I don't know, is that even an expression? Probably not.
Into the poor house or whatever. Anyways,
you said the poor house. I said the crazy house. No, the poor house.
But no, I can't disagree. If you end up having these beautiful facilities across the street from some premier track facilities, like this pool is not only going to be a fun splash pad for the kids. There's going to be proper lanes for actual swim competitions. Sure. There's going to be courts. There's going to be a whole bunch of indoor field houses or whatnot.
Yeah. Have you seen the virtual tour?
It looks great.
It looks great. I'm excited about it.
Guess what? The city of Windsor has done the same thing.
Yeah,
I just got back from it. They were bitching about it for a long time. I guess they have an aquatic center set up, which has these huge. It's a much larger pool thing that we have, more of like a fun house. I'm going to sneeze. I apologize.
A fun house? No, that's okay. Jason's sick, folks.
But yeah, no. So everyone bitch about it, but now supposedly no one talks about it. Everyone uses it nonstop. Mm-hmm. They built an indoor field house that has a bunch of different courts. They have the little, not wiffle ball, whatever, that little small pickleball. They have that there too. I guess that's the thing, and I guess seniors do it a lot.
Yeah.
So this is not all of our problems we have are not strictly a Timmins, Ontario issue. These same things are repeated and echoed in every community.
Yeah.
There's a need for new infrastructure across the province. Mm-hmm. If you look at our roads, this is not an issue that's only been going on for the last 4 or 8 years. These are roads that were built 30 years ago. Like, when's the last time you saw major road construction on the highways in your lifetime? Never.
Yeah.
Never. Yeah. So now that these main links, that the connecting link is completely destroyed, some reason it's the Kirk Council's fault. Guess what? This has been going on for a while. Yeah. This has not been invested by, let alone the city, but and previous city councils, but also the province. This hasn't been touched. So we are now trying to catch up and maintain a crumbling infrastructure.
And that's what I got to give our current council some credit on, some more credit, I guess. I don't know. We're going to be painted as council
you ass kissers. You're going to hear the head pop out of their butt.
Yes. I remember that one. That was one of my favorite beer and bullshit chirps.
It was good.
That alongside with the out of their parents' basement.
Yeah, that was good. Well, to be fair, it is. This is a home of certain parents.
Of parents, yeah.
There are parents here.
There are parents who own this home. They're not my parents.
Whose parents are they?
But to give current council their due, and especially our mayor, I feel like there hasn't been this much engagement with upper levels of government in past councils.
100%.
Wow, and again, maybe I'm just becoming more aware of municipal politics now. Mm-hmm. But some part of me feels like, okay, if we needed this much work to our facilities, right? So like our wastewater plant, and we didn't even get to start talking about the fucking fiasco that's going on in South End. But if we needed all this work and all these things done, right? And we needed essentially money from the upper levels of government, how was it not that our elected officials weren't always knocking down the doors of their provincial counterparts, right? Like to be up there and making noise, saying like, listen, this is going to be coming due, and this is a problem our municipality has had. Like, this is not from 4 years ago. No.
And recently they're trying to, like you said, they are now doing more engagement with senior levels of government. But no one had the foresight years ago to do this, and everyone wants to talk about being, I want to be the next councillor who's going to, I'm planning, I'm going to make decisions that are help, future,
Joe Six-Pack.
Yes, Joe Six-Pack for years from now, not just an expert. That's bullshit, because no one has.
Yeah.
No one has done that. And it's tough. Yeah. Why is no one, no one had the foresight to go ahead and take care of that? But I guess that's just, how, when you have, let's say myself, let's say if I would have got in, I'm not an engineer. I'm not my hands are way too soft. You've seen these nails. They're beautiful and perfect.
That's very true. You are not built for manual labor.
No, I'm not. I've tried it, and I went straight to drama class.
I saw you, as you were running your campaign, I saw the pictures of you shoveling sandbags in Mountjoy, and I said, yeah, he probably did that for about as long as it took to take those pictures.
No, bullshit. And that was at the actually, it was at the Confed. It was myself and Mr. Gresla.
That's true.
And we
former councillor, name drop.
We filled a good 60 sandbags, or it was a fair amount.
60?
There was a nice wall of sandbags.
Okay.
And I guess the flooding never came, and I saw these poor high school students, with the summer job with the city, having to pick those bloody sandbags up into the back of a trailer. And I felt kind of bad, but I laughed. Because I'm like, what? We did all that work, and these kids had to go pick up these sandbags that
you, sir,
big hole filled up.
For a photo op.
For a photo op.
That's classic scumball politician.
100%.
Work
well, to be fair, they're like, hey, this is gonna be there. Fill them up. This would be a nice gesture.
Yeah.
100% backfire. Well,
how sore were you for the next 3 weeks?
That wasn't bad. Come on, I can still do some things.
I'm shitting you. Jay's actually not that soft. He's one of the only people that came to help me build my stone patio in the backyard.
You're right. I did.
You did help me dump some chip and dust. I had 21 tons of that shit to move.
That was a fair amount.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, and what else has happened municipally? Or you want to talk more about some of these candidates? Because I did pull up a couple of these
first
responses.
But do you need a beer?
Yes,
yes,
most
you do.
Definitely do. Yes,
I
please.
also need one.
Grab me one.
So you talk to the people while I
talk to the people. Well, I did pull up a couple of these interviews with some of these mayoral
candidates. Mayoral.
It's funny because I've said the word 1,000 times today, and I can't say it. But a lot of the candidates and their responses, and we did mention that there was one that we thought was funny, or I guess probably shouldn't have been done or said.
Let's call it heartfelt.
Yeah. So which one do we want to go with? Do we want to go with?
Well, let's read them all. Let's
okay.
Not all the responses, but maybe the first response to the. I don't know, the response to the first question for all the candidates.
So let's go with the first question.
Okay, what was it?
What track record, experience, or qualities do you have that make you a good choice for mayor?
Okay, before you go on to this, what was the stipulation for the amount of words that they wanted?
200 words for each response.
Okay, so 200 words is what,
a paragraph? If you wrote something,
sure, a short paragraph, right?
I don't know. I'm only just finishing school, so I don't know.
Aren't you supposed to be able to count with a master's of business administration?
Oh God, no. You do not know what school I went to, do you?
Okay. Okay, so who do we have as our first candidate?
So first one, Mr. Daniel Fortier.
Okay, what does Mr. Daniel Fortier think his track record,
experience, and qualities are to make him a good choice for mayor? So I am not going to change anything. I'm going to read this. I'm illiterate, so it might be difficult.
Illiterate.
So
there's probably a lot of words in there you can't pronounce. You can't say mayoral.
Anyways, it's the beer and the cold.
Sure.
So life is all about politics. ... Work.
Strong start.
Work, your education, money you have, the color of your skin, the language you speak, your last name. ! We should never judge a book by its cover for the life that we didn't choose. Here are a few. There was a prospector that lived in Timmins, never finished school. Now he lives in the Yukon. He's a very successful man today. Eileen Edwards Shania was judged by a few and had a hard go in life. Look where she is today. That was a response on his track record, experience, and qualities that make him a good candidate for mayor.
Sounds like somebody asked him that question and and he just honestly, that's a funny response. I don't want to ridicule the guy, but that was a very, very funny response because one, he did not answer the question, and two, it sounds like he took offense to the question.
Or he
asked, somebody asked him what are your qualities and strengths and so on, and he says, "Hey, don't judge a book by its cover." Are you saying?
But then didn't speak about the book at all, or the cover,
Well, we are not judging the book by its cover, but we're judging it by its answer
and by its substance of that answer.
I mean, you failed to persuade me, Mr. Fortier.
Yeah.
So let's move along to the next.
Let's go actually this young fella, Mr. McInnes, or McInnes. I think it'd be McInnes. So his answer to the track record, experience, and qualities that make him a good candidate. Let me begin by acknowledging something. I'm a 25-year-old kid in comparison to some of the other candidates. Therefore, I do not have the decades of experience behind me. Awesome. Okay, great. That being said, I believe the experience I do have is extremely valuable. I have experienced hard work in all its forms, be it staying up to unspeakable hours writing reports and essays in university, to work 12-plus hour shifts as a laborer on a construction site. These diverse settings, as well as being bilingual, has allowed me to meet people from all walks of life and make me more aware of what different people need from their government. Of particular importance to governance, I know that is it isn't enough just to solve the problem. You have to fix what caused that problem. So it does not happen again. I'm very shy to get a second opinion, and I always consider all the evidence before making a decision. I'm never shy. Sorry,
very bad. I'm very never shy to get a second opinion. Ooh. That's a terrible answer.
I'm never shy to get a second opinion, as I always consider all the evidence before making a decision. Finally, while many people will make it seem like this election is a matter of life and death for the city, I believe all candidates for mayor and council will be fine representatives to the city. I think it's a very mature answer. I think it's
a very mature yet inaccurate answer at the last statement that he says any of the people running would be fine representatives. Clearly, he has not read the response that we just read. But yes, I think this sounds like the response of a guy who feels like he's probably not going to win, but is running for the experience of running. And
I see him running again.
Absolutely, and I hope he does. I don't know, maybe he energizes a certain portion of the population who says listen, we want something new, right?
How many 18-year-olds vote?
And honestly, if he came out of nowhere and became our mayor, I probably wouldn't be distraught over it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be worried that somebody's going to come.
Yep. And I say kid, 25-year-old. He's a grown adult.
He's a grown adult.
Let's be honest.
Yes, he's not he says a 25-year-old kid. He's an adult who sounds extremely mature. Yeah. Assuming his mother didn't write that, but if she did, I take everything back. But if those are his words, A+. Yeah. But I'm 100%. Pretty. I'm a big softie for young guys in politics. So.
Well, I've heard you've been. Never mind.
I was gonna cheap shots. Yeah. There you go. Another one out of the park.
So there's some other ones here. I guess we can talk Mr. Peary here. Mm-hmm. Man,
what does he say?
Does he have a lot to say? Yeah, I don't want to say it all.
Is it 200? Did he clearly go over the 200
he went
word
over 200 words.
Come on, George.
I guarantee you. Come on, George. Now.
We've been giving you a lot of good press today.
And now
you go ahead and can't follow instructions.
234 words. Give me a break.
Oh, you did the word count?
Yeah, I did the word count.
Okay, can you read his entire response?
Actually, wait. It might have taken some other stuff, so it might be closer to.
Does it count the spaces?
No, it should be good. It's probably close to 220. Anyways, regardless. As an individual who was born, raised, and obtained his early education, was married, and together with his wife raised his family here, I have a comprehensive perspective of the city. Sounds good. At an early age, I experienced a strong, dedicated leadership and clear strategic vision that created and made RMSS a successful amalgamation of the South Porcupine and Schumacher high schools. I served on the Porcupine General Hospital and Timmins District Hospital and experienced a strong and dedicated leadership with a clear strategic regional vision that created a facility we have today. My career gave me international experience with Placer Dome, and as president and CEO of the Placer Dome Canada, I applied my acquired skills and detailed knowledge of the Porcupine area to create the Porcupine joint venture with Kinross, which formed the bulk of Gold Corp's operations here today. The Porcupine joint venture worked because it had a strong leadership and clear strategic vision. Saying that thing pretty awesome. Anyways, I continue to work in the community for the community, serving on the TDC and the chair of the board of governors with Northern College. I have and continue to work with the Indigenous and Métis communities, serving on the boards with Wagashog Resource and Niwin. I'm sorry. I submit that the above information combined with your vote would qualify me to serve as your mayor.
Okay, so, he probably could have cut out that last little part and it would have made 200 words. But
good. Hey,
I submit that
you can't.
Okay, when I hear that is a extremely accomplished person. Yep. Had he been running in the last election for mayor, mm-hmm. I think he would have won.
Could have, yeah.
He was running against people who had not been mayor
yet.
Yep.
100%.
I think he absolutely would have won. But there's a whole lot of porcupine in that in that profile there.
But hey,
so you got to think this guy must have been a goddamn goal king.
Oh, never mind.
Son of a bitch.
Forget it.
Not gonna get my not get my vote anymore. Timmins Flyers for life. I'm just kidding.
Dear Lord.
I'm just kidding, folks. No, that was a very impressive profile.
Good profile. And decent experience. You can't you can't say anything about that experience or anything bad about that experience for sure. No, that's why I think we both think he's a legitimate contender, and I'm interested to see what the outcome's going to be, because you have somebody I think who's going to have a sell pork pine support for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to recall or acknowledge that Steve Black's some of the few polls he won across Timmins in the provincial election were all the sell pork pine ones.
Really?
Yeah, we're not.
But he was running for the PCs, and I got a feeling that there's a bit of a conservative wave out there.
There must be. Well, they're all Gold King fans. Ugh.
They're all what?
Gold King fans.
Yes.
But yeah, no. So hey, you can't say anything. You can't turn your nose to that profile. Good.
And so let's go along to.
All right, let's do two more. Then
we'd love to do Steve Black, but we're out of time. Sorry, he's gonna be like the Matt Damon.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do these two, then we'll go off to some other news.
Okay.
We'll do these two, then we'll get with it.
All right, so Jay. What? We're at the hour mark already.
So we're going to an hour and a half?
That's fine.
All right,
that's
for an hour and a half.
We're going to wind up doing a 2-hour podcast again. You know that, right? I'm having too much fun doing this. It's been too long.
All right, so we're off the hop. I am the only candidate whom... this is Steve Black's, sorry.
Okay.
I am the only candidate whom has municipal experience. With 8 years on city council, 4 as a mayor, 4 as a councillor, I bring municipal experience to the council table that no other candidate can offer. I am chair of the Timmins Police Service Board, chair of the Cochrane District Social Service Board, responsible for EMS, housing, childcare, and Ontario Works programs, chair of the Timmins Violence Against Women Advisory Committee, vice chair of the Timmins Economic Development Corporation, board member of the Portman Health Unit, board member of the Timmins District Hospital, board member of the Matagami Regional Conservation Authority, board member of the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities. Electing a mayor with experiences in all the different aspects of municipal governance is important for a smooth transition and to provide the leadership and vision needed to move a city forward. A company could not appoint a CEO with no experience in the field of work or electing a mayor without experience in municipal governance. Governance would be similarly not advisable. I apologize. Private sector for profit companies are very different than public sector service providers, and there's one reason past mayors have served on city council first.
Can't argue with that.
No, can't argue with it. I think it's a direct shot at who he's going to go up against. So you got to set yourself apart from who your main contenders are going to be.
Yeah, and I think that's a valid point worth making. Is that municipal operations are different than
100%.
Than for-profit companies.
Yep.
The mandate's not to turn a profit, and also we've talked about this on the podcast too, right? Before, where we've kind of looked at different political points of view for various government services. Mm-hmm. Like why do we find it important for healthcare to be a government service?
Yeah.
Because if it was run as private industry, it could be very possible that it wouldn't be profitable to have a hospital in Timmins or whatever, right? So, they're two different beasts. Like, there are certain things that they take upon themselves, and I think at the municipal level, there's probably more discretion given to municipalities on what they're going to collect tax dollars for and what they're going to spend on. I think their manner of collecting revenue is very limited. We've talked about that on the podcast before, that really it comes down to property taxes and user fees.
Yep.
And there's no way for municipalities to tax people's income. But we have somebody who might have an idea on that front, right? If I'm not mistaken, this last candidate here.
I had a hard time pulling it up. I'm trying to find it again. Give me a second.
With his response, I believe he's looking. I think this guy proposed something like a third layer of taxation on your income.
Yes. So I'm gonna find this for some reason. I lost the page for a second, so I apologize. It
sounds like a political winner to me.
So the only thing, so we're talking about Steve's response.
Sure.
Or I say the difference between Steve's response and Mr. Peary's response. I always have a hard time when, and once again, we know that I've backed Steve in many different facets. But I find that when someone explains my experience, yes, his experience, but it's like, here are the boards I've been on. Mm-hmm. But those are because of the position he's currently in. Like, he would not be on the municipality of Northern Ontario.
Well, it's clearly an unfair comparison.
Yes, because whereas another candidate can say, I've been on these boards, which Ms. Peary shows he has been. Those are by virtue of volunteering. Or it might have been because of his job, and they might have pushed him to say, hey, you should be on the community a bit more. But it's a very hard comparison and very unfair comparison. But let's be honest, it is experience that he has gained in those aspects that has allowed him to network and understand and meet those individuals. So it's a hard comparison, and it almost seems kind of unfair. But like, I always have a hard time, taking that. It's like, because you want to say, you might think, oh my God, he was the head of the TDC board, or the vice chair. And you're like, but because they have to have so many people from council.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, is that it's unfair to compare those two things, because the reason why he's involved so heavily in committees, it's not out of the goodness of his heart. It's because a lot of this is mandatory because of the position that he's in.
To be fair,
that's experience. Yeah, that's experience. The guy was elected already. Yeah. For him to not call upon that experience as some form of persuasion to say, hey, listen, like, I'm here now. I mean, the city hasn't burnt to the ground. You might want to think about electing me again, and this is why I've been doing this. To
be fair, beforehand, he did. He volunteered in the community. He took part of hockey and all that stuff. Like, he did volunteer in the community before he was a mayor. So it's not. I'm not trying to throw shade at him for only volunteering because he's mayor or councillor, but he did coach. Hey, we know some.
Mitch Bergeron was here. He'd be throwing shade.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. All right, so I did find our friend, or not friend,
the guy who wants to tax your income again.
Oh, I think we have to do all of the responses though.
No, just the one.
Just
Come
the
on.
one.
We don't. Anyway. If we're gonna sit here reading the Daily Press, go check out the article if you really want to read this.
One thing I just want to say, he did start off this answer, half of it being a quote from Buddha. And this is a 150-word response from Buddha, and I'm not sure if we want to go over that.
Sorry, but this is no. I do want you to read that entire thing, because
Jesus Christ,
just think about the context here. So if I sit, if this gentleman was sitting in front of me here, and you know what, some part of me would like to have some of these guys come on and
give them a shot.
I would love to hear you try to convince me why you're a serious candidate for the mayor's position. So, I mean, any of these candidates that we have maybe thrown a bit of shade at, maybe kind of laughed off some of their responses here, please feel free to contact us. We'll sit here. We're definitely not gotcha journalists. We may be journalists, so, right? Remember?
Oh yes. We'll talk about that.
The integrity commissioner's
report.
We'll talk about that. Anyways. So yeah, we'd love to hear you talk. If there's anything, although I might not agree that you'd be a suitable candidate, I do appreciate your zeal and your passion for municipal affairs. And just the fact that you're willing to do this and go through this and put yourself under this scrutiny of people who want to talk about you,
douchebags like us on
podcasts. Beer and go. That's admirable. So, anyways, that said, just picture the context where you would ask a gentleman the question, "What are your skills?"
Oh, I gotta read this.
Okay, so you've decided to run for mayor. So, what is your experience? What are your skills? What's your track record to take this position that makes you feel that you are an appropriate candidate for the mayor's position in Timmins? And he fires back a Buddha quote at you.
Well, before I answer your question, I'd like to share this quote with your readership. Do not believe what you have heard. Do not believe in tradition because it is handed down many generations. Do not believe in anything that has been spoken of many times. Do not believe because the written statements come from the same old sage. Do not believe in conjecture. Do not believe in authority or teachers or elders. But after careful observation and analysis, when it agrees and with reason and it will benefit one and all, then accept it and live by it. So, this is a Buddha quote, but do not believe in authority or teachers or elders. Is this not a good Buddha quote?
This is one of those, like, remember on one of the podcasts we did one of these Taylor Swift and Hitler quote things,
yes.
Where like it was like memes of like Taylor Swift saying something, but it was a Hitler quote or something. I feel like this may be one of Buddha's, like, deep cuts.
Yeah, deep cut. Anyways,
a B-side.
So that's what he starts with. Then he goes into his actual response. Man, you know what? After only having a couple beers, it's hard to start reading. Like, especially for someone who's borderline.
I think it's. I don't know if it's the beer or if it's the allergies, but every time you say Mr. Peary, it sounds like you keep calling him Miss Peary.
Miss Peary. It's Mr. If I'm saying Peary. Miss, I apologize. It's Mr. It is.
It's the sickness.
What a that would be a really underhanded thing to do.
It would.
I'm not that clever to do that.
No, clearly not. I've done enough podcasting with Jason to know that he's not.
It is for this reason I'm running in this election, and with your vote, I would like to become the next mayor. Council needs a mayor that can direct this city into the 21st century. My campaign will be driven by policy, not rhetoric. The mayor sets the tone at the council meetings. The quote that you have
Can I stop you here for a second?
Yep.
My campaign will be driven by policy, not rhetoric, but he provided a philosophical quote from Buddha.
Yes. Let's the quote
is that policy?
That is well, hey. Maybe the oldest policy.
Yeah, you may be right.
Hey, this is year 563 before Common Era. So this is
See, it's legit.
Yeah, because anything written since then has been perfect.
Okay.
The quote you have read will be adhered to and be implemented by council. I have owned small businesses, been on executive board for local 303 St. Catharines, Ontario. Worked for some of the largest automakers. Worked here in the mines. I've worked for various contractors. We don't need more smart people at council. We need people that can work to grow the city and have a plan. Vote for a new beginning. That
was a mistake. That was like
we weren't going to laugh at you, but
sorry, that was a complete gaffe. Like, I'm hoping, but no, there's no way that this was transcribed from because I can see how somebody, and just to give this guy the benefit of the doubt, if he was answering this verbally, right, that somebody would pose him this question, and he would say, listen here, we don't need more smart people at council. We need people who are going to do blah, 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 right? I get that attitude. That's a bit of a populist attitude. It's something that plays very well, and that makes it, like, I get where that comes from, that sentiment. But for somebody to put into writing, we don't need more smart people, presumably would reread his answer prior to submitting and go like, yep. I'm very much okay with saying we don't need more smart people.
You need me.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? Are you not a smart person?
Hey, that's...
Anyways,
but this is an individual who's proposed a 5% tax on minerals being extracted from Timmins. I'm not too sure if the city can actually...
Is that doable?
Doable. I would believe some of it would be provincially mandated. And also talked about a municipal tax on certain consumables. So an additional consumable tax, which...
Booze and cigarettes, clearly.
Hey, who knows?
I don't think that'd work. Well, you couldn't do that. People would just start selling booze and cigarettes outside city limits.
You're probably right, and I'm not too sure what the legalities with that are itself. I don't know.
I have a hard time seeing that these kinds of ideas are actually feasible.
So next to that, we were talking about. So those are the candidates that are
yeah. This is your introduction to them.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to go through every single answer.
No.
How many questions were there? Like 4?
Only 2 or 3.
2 or 3? Okay. So, I mean, anybody can go check out that article on the Daily Press. Very interesting and revealing. And those are our mayoral candidates. I don't know. Maybe next week we should go through like the ward.
We could do a couple, right? Yeah. We absolutely can.
Something like that, and go see who's running, because there's some interesting people running in all wards too, right? Hey, speaking of interesting people, this Ken Pye fellow.
Oh dear.
Right?
Oh. Yeah.
Him and the mayor had it out.
I guess
about
so.
The skating oval, right?
Figure 8.
This is for those who. Well, I mean, I don't. Do you know Ken Pye at all?
I don't know him.
I don't know him either. But he's clearly somebody who's very involved in the community, and for the past few years, took the initiative to build and run the Hollinger Skate 8.
Yeah.
Skating rink, and the hockey.
The outdoor hockey.
The outdoor hockey rinks as well. Awesome thing, like super well received by the community. Very, I don't know. I thought it was a hit. We brought the family out a few times as well. Actually, we go fairly regularly, and I thought it was super well run. There was always like used skates donated for anybody who like didn't actually have skates, and the place is always busy.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure how this whole fucking thing fell apart. Like, I don't understand how it felt like, I don't know. I think he put a post saying like that it appeared like the mayor hijacked his project, and now he's relocating his project out to close to the Ford lot?
Yeah, the old Ford. Yeah. The old by the boat, or across from the boat launch there. But it's funny because before that he literally held not ransom but gave an ultimatum to the city saying, if you don't support this, I'm not doing it anymore. And the city said, well, we'll just, like, if I can't remember what
yeah, I don't remember exactly what the problems were. There were issues with like and maybe I'm conflating a lot of things. So anybody, I mean, I'm not usually somebody to advertise our willingness to read our own comments, but if anybody wants to provide a bit of a synopsis about this, because I'm very interested in knowing what the hell went sideways here, because this was something that was like beloved by the community and everybody loved it.
Well, I know he was pushed to, or he was requested to go to set up a full nonprofit group, because it wasn't a nonprofit. So donations given in were not, they were just given to him to do what he. Which, hey, and once again, we're not taking away what he was doing, or I'm not taking away what he was doing.
I guess when it gets to a certain size, right?
Yeah,
there's got to be some like kind of legit
accountability type stuff. Yeah, and also like a committee to see where this money is being spent, and especially if he's requesting money from the city to help, or donations from the city.
Is that what it was? Is that what the problem was?
That's how I'm understanding.
Okay.
Okay. But I'm sure there's other stuff. But at one point, held the city, gave him
an ultimatum.
And then when the city said, "Well, thanks for what you're doing, but we'll just do it on our own," he then.
And this guy appears to have a bit of a personality too.
Yeah, right? A little bit. Yeah.
He's running in Ward 1.
Yep.
Which is kind of interesting. Like I think that's the ward that's like completely up for grabs, because Gresla's he left halfway through his term, and nobody really. I don't want to say nobody voted for Veronica Farrell, but she she didn't win the election, right? So I think that'll be kind of contended. There's, who else is there? Rock Wissell and Ken Pye, and is that it?
I think it's just
and
3. I think
Veronica Farrell is running.
Make sure. 1, 2, 3.
You can check it out. There you go. 3 people. So, anyways, this Ken Pye guy, and you're welcome for the free publicity. He seems like a bit of a character. And I don't know if it's like a disagreeable thing, or if like there's just kind of like a back and forth, like, fuck you, well, fuck you, but the thing that kind of told me a lot about, and I sent you this picture online, when I saw this come in, because he posted a picture on his, running for Ward 1 page, of him signing the papers. I remember you doing the same thing. Mind you, you were wearing a suit.
Yes,
I believe, right?
Yes.
As you came in and you decided you were going to be. This is the post. This is the picture you're going to use. To
everyone hated my picture for some reason. I don't know why.
Why?
They thought I looked like a douchebag.
Well, maybe this guy's got it right?
Maybe.
You know, what the hell do we know? But some part of me, it kind of informed me a little bit on his personality that a guy would come and submit his papers for running for council with, what did it say? World's greatest farter.
Yeah.
But to be fair to him, this was the second instance of this type of thing happening.
Yeah.
Because Charlie Angus earlier in the week put a post out with a group of miners that had been they have a grievance with their well, I don't know if it's an actual grievance, but like they have problems with their employer not paying them, and everybody's there looking real serious in the picture, and he's standing there with a group of miners, and there's one guy at the very end holding a folder like, I brought all this information to kind of support my case here, and he's wearing a shirt. He's going to meet
a member of parliament,
the MP for our riding, former candidate for the leadership of the federal NDP, at the time was a possible Prime Minister one day, going to meet with this gentleman, and wearing a shirt that says, "Please tell your breasts to stop looking at my eyes, or stop staring at my eyes."
I think it says, "Tell your boobs to stop looking or staring at my eyes," and the boobs are huge writing across.
Yeah, the word across, and
classy.
I was like, man, this is where I live, and I love it, and I love it here. I love the personalities of people, but sometimes I wish people would have a little bit more
There should be a rule,
self kind of reflection.
No graphic tees for a photo op.
Yeah, the only time you should wear a graphic tee. What was the rule I told you? Doing yard work, or going to sleep if you wear a shirt for that. Yeah. Like if you bought your shirt that says some kind of statement, like it just says like, if blah 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 blah, like I'm the kind of guy that you know, like that, all that kind of t-shirt stuff that needs to
be gone.
End, man.
Be gone.
It needs to end. But I feel like I've been noticing a trend recently that those kind of graphic tees are more like motivational tees now. Like all the companies have like motivational things, like
I can see that.
Chase greatness.
Or you can have
Rock.
Really lame like colored swans on your shirt or something like that. Some people do.
So what about my swans? You don't like my swans?
I'm kidding.
My wife got me the shirt.
No, patterns like that are supposedly, I guess, a thing now.
Patterns. Hey, I'm no longer wearing plaid.
You're right.
So that's kind of a thing. I've been told that I have quite the limited fashion sense.
Oh, I know I have limited fashion sense. One thing I want to bring up was while I was gone, I guess there was some integrity commissioner, proceedings, which a certain local podcast was mentioned in some of the proceedings.
Take that, rusted robot!
Yeah, when were you brought up in court proceedings? Yeah.
Okay.
Bring it.
So this is how I noticed this, and I don't even know. We probably talked about this when Nick was on the podcast.
Must.
Anyways.
I hope.
Well, this is how this came to my attention. Is that I was like, man, because we get notifications whenever we get like an uptick in views, right? So we get like Facebook notifications, or we get YouTube, whatever analytics. So we can tell how much traffic we're getting on our
huge amounts.
It's not very much. It's not very much. For a period of time, I was like, Jesus, like we haven't done a podcast in how many months? Yeah. And the views are just keep piling up. But it's all on the mayor's podcasts, right? Everybody's watching the mayor's podcast. And I said, well, there's nothing out of the ordinary there. It's our most viewed one.
Yep.
It's the one where there was the most attention. And wouldn't you know that an article comes out in the Daily Press, mayor cleared of all complaints or integrity complaints by the integrity commissioner. So I said, oh, okay. So I look at this article, And it says something about 2 local journalists laughing about a certain councillor with the mayor, and look at us like just laughing it up, having a good time. And the funniest part was the fact that they called us 2 local journalists.
Yeah.
I think we've made it extremely clear from the very beginning of all this. We don't gather news.
Yeah.
We read the same news as everybody else.
And we do not pretend to not have a bias.
We
sometimes try not to.
We announce proudly our bias.
Yes.
I think we try to be as fair as possible, but I mean we succumb to our bias pretty significantly and pretty often. Like, I don't know, we've shared our opinions many times on the podcast. So
I guess we said some slanderous things, or the mayor might have said slanderous things, or accused of saying.
Sure.
And so I thought that was like the funny part was being called journalists. I think that's what we were excited about.
Yeah, I think that was
or offended by. I'm not too sure.
That was a watershed moment in our podcasting career. It's essentially why I've been bugging Jay to just come back and for us to keep doing this thing, because, like I said, listen, we're journalists now. Yeah. You know, this is like we're pretty much like the same people who were in that, what was that movie, Spotlight?
Spotlight, yeah.
Who uncovered the problems in the Catholic Church.
Well, and also, like, you know, you can talk about Watergate, whatnot, similar type stuff. And to be fair, I've heard the term deep throated and Corey McGee used in the same sentence often, very often. So very similar, I gotta say. That was pretty decent. That was good. All
right, that's gonna be a thing.
So you know what? We've done a lot municipally. I think, you know, we'll bring in a bit of just for maybe our last one. Or what are we at now, time wise?
We're at an hour and a half almost, Jay.
Right, so let's.
We got one more thing we can do.
All right. So one thing I would say is, and we'll keep it local, quote unquote. But I guess was it last week or the week before? The Prime Minister showed up to Timmins. He was in town.
It's pretty cool.
I was called by the Liberal Party to see if I want to volunteer.
and you said,
no, thank you.
This is an NDP household.
Do you know who you're calling? Because I guess one time I signed up for the Liberal Party because there was a vote coming up, and I was kind of interested. I was thinking,
you were looking to skew the vote.
I should go check it out because I want to just kind of be part of the debate. But then ended up just not doing it. So it was like 50
fell
bucks
asleep, folks.
Yeah, pretty well. So it was $50 wasted for a membership. But anyways, they don't stop calling me. But to be fair, I've also signed up for the other parties too, all the other parties at one time. But no, so he showed up, and it was. It was.
Did you go? No,
I did not go, but it seemed to be a decent turnout. Like, people want to make comments on whatever pictures, but they say about 600 people showed up in that one tent. Like, there was a fair amount of people showed up to that thing on a really bad rainy day.
Yeah, I believe it. And I mean, it's kind of a special thing, right? We have the leader of our country coming to our community. What I thought was funny is the kind of commentary on social media. Again, I don't know. I feel like sometimes this podcast just veers into us going like
what people
shaking our heads on at what people are saying. Oh, Justin Trudeau's ruining this country, and blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of Justin Trudeau's politics that I don't line up with, and honestly, some of it I feel like I can't even make sense of. But he's still, like, I don't think the country's going to hell in a handbasket. I think, quite frankly, if I look at the picture around the world, like, we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, in comparison, 100%. Yeah. But also, like, you know, like, it's been mentioned, you know, like, I was just watching an interview with good old Bernie Sanders. You know, to talk about Canada has had one of the lowest unemployment rates across the industrialized world. You know, better off than a bunch of countries. Essentially, you know, like, hasn't been all that bad. And, you know, you can argue, is it just an echo effect from, you know, a decade of conservative leadership?
It might be.
It might be. I would.
Oh, Stephen Harper.
But it's like, really, like, let's be honest. How much does a prime minister do? But, like, I just thought it was incredible how people are so upset about this one guy showing up, and I wonder if there was the same response when a Chrétien or when a Mulrooney showed up to Timmins and how upset people would have been.
Do you remember when Jean Chrétien had to fight off a protester with his own hands?
Badass.
That was pretty badass.
That's
pretty badass. Jean Chrétien was a serious dude.
He choked him and threw him to the ground?
I bet you can look up that video where he just grabs him by the throat and he's like, oh, man. And I remember they interviewed the guy after, and he was just kind of like starstruck.
I remember
I mean, I don't agree with his policies, but I kind of asked him for an autograph.
I remember Air Farce and 22 Minutes, how that was nonstop jokes about that. It was skits about it. There was always stuff about choking somebody out. I thought it was the funniest thing ever. But no, it's I just thought it was interesting to see. I thought it would be more fanfare, but I think also just the day. It was midweek. It was during the day on a very rainy day. I'm not surprised that people weren't as motivated to go. I think if it would have been a nice day, a lot of people would have went just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
But hey, guy showed up. People want to argue, why was he not doing something else? But it's that's prime ministers do. They go around and check out different ridings and show their face. They are the face of the government.
You know what I thought was awesome is again a reason why I don't know that my politics fully line up with Chuck there, Charlie Angus, but
people call him Chuck.
People
call Charlie Chuck.
Chuck Angus.
Chuck. We should start calling him Chuck for the hell.
That sounds like too much beef.
Yeah.
Chuck Angus.
Hey, Chuck. If you had a really good burger, you call it Chuck Angus.
The Chuck Angus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just made the Chuck Angus. It's about 3 pounds of beef, bacon, and a bunch of mozzarella or something. Just a big old beef burger.
Well, what I meant to say is that although I don't know that my politics completely line up with him, I think I'm very proud to have him as our representative here because one of the things was his message that he put on social media about the prime minister coming to the community and how he was very welcoming, and it was it's our pleasure to welcome the prime minister.
I actually didn't see this. No,
you didn't see it? Yeah, it was awesome. I thought the guy's a class act. And again, you don't have to agree with all his politics, but when I see stuff like that, to me, that's all right, you know that there's a certain level above politics that we all can agree on, right? Is civility clearly something that's missing somewhere in our world?
So my only question, I'm going to stick on this real fast.
No problem.
So there's talks now about. I just want to know your opinion on it. I just want to see your opinion because I do have an opinion, but. People, first thing they talk about when they argue about Trudeau and now that there's they want to take away our guns, and they want to do a ban on handguns and fully automatic and semi-automatic or certain semi-automatic assault weapons. What's your thought on that? I want to know what your thought is on that, on a major policy issue.
It's probably something I haven't reflected too much on. I'm a gun owner. I have
what?
I know.
How many do you have?
4 or 5. Lost count.
I got 7 or 8.
No.
I'm also a gun owner.
I have a few. Again, I like hunting, and that's really the only purpose I have the guns for.
Distinguishing life. I get it. I'm in the same boat.
But anybody who talks about I understand the point of view of firearms for self-defense and defense of the home and so on. I've never felt like I lived in a community or in a province or a country where I felt like I needed to have one readily available all the time to defend myself. I just don't believe that I'm in that much danger. I get the logic behind it. I understand where people south of the border kind of go a little off the rails with their Second Amendment thing. like that to me, I feel like when you look at what their kind of laws say about that, like that seems pretty cut and dry. That the idea is that people can defend themselves against the government, right? I don't know that that's realistic.
Can you
these
defend
days.
yourself with let's say you had a a M16 or an M4 carbine, whatever? Can you defend against an F-22 Raptor?
Clearly not.
No, you can't.
But I think that was the original intent.
Yeah, originally when everyone fought with muskets.
But we don't have that here in Canada, and I don't know. Things seem. So I don't know that it's more peaceful, but from my point of view, where we live, I just don't feel like I absolutely need a firearm to defend my home and my family. Like it just.
And I get that. And so my question is, can you defend yourself better, or what's the difference between having a pump action 12 gauge compared to a handgun to defend yourself?
I don't know. I've never fired a handgun, to be completely honest.
I have. And guess what? They're fucking hard to hit anything. Oh. They are. First of all, they're powerful. They're not meant for any distance whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But your whatever shotgun can do just as good of a job. And just as good of a job. Just from experience of firing many different types of firearms and owning fucking different types.
Gun nut.
But the thing I don't understand is, or the thing everyone else's argument is, they're taking away or they're punishing legal gun owners. Law-abiding gun owners.
Law-abiding citizens, Jason. But get it right.
They showed, and actually, especially after the shooting in Toronto, one of the more recent ones, Davenport, one of the stats was, X percent, like more than half or whatever of illegal guns, quote unquote, or held by illegally owned by people, handguns were originally purchased legally by lawful gun owners. So the thing is, people buy them, then I sell them to whoever. I don't care where they go from there.
And I think that was the idea of the registry, right?
Yeah, is registering them or whatever. Like that is, I can't disagree with that aspect. And let's be honest, there's not many reasons why you need a handgun. I understand shooting. I understand the sport of it. But let's be honest, it is a sport.
Sure.
I understand, hey, if you are a surveyor, you're allowed to, like certain surveyors in the bush, whatever, you're allowed to have a sidearm. I understand for certain jobs, you're allowed a sidearm. 100%. I don't disagree. Hey,
but just your average Joe probably doesn't need one.
I don't know if you really need it. And this is coming from, I want to go buy. I've always considered go get my restricted license and go do it. And I had fun shooting it. But once again, it was fun. It was it's not a livelihood. It is not a necessity, which I don't understand, Well,
I mean, I absolutely get that. And I think it's kind of like, in the end, we can't help but just fall into a bit of a thought experiment because, I don't know, like I've never lived in a society that everybody has a handgun, right? So I don't know if I feel safer, if I would feel safer in a society like that. It very well could be that like everybody I meet on the street has a gun on their side, and I'm just like, yeah, if trouble breaks down, if some person decides to do harm with their gun, there's like 80 people around me who are ready to
put that guy
draw
down
at any time. Yeah. And you can't discount the deterrent effect of that as well. But you're also walking around in a society that seems to be having more and more mental health issues where everybody's packing. I don't know. Like I get it. I don't know. I'm not exposed enough to the world. I'm not a worldly citizen.
I was hoping to be a better argument with this. I want you to really come at me here.
I'm trying to be considerate in my position here because it appears that I have not been in the past on this podcast, and I've just been willy-nilly throwing shit out. So no, I think it's hard for me to give a full answer on that. My inclination would be the less guns around, the better. The more responsible people with guns, like maybe very, very, very strict licensing requirements, and then tracking of certain types of firearms.
Do you remember signing up and doing your stuff?
Yeah.
It's pretty in depth in Canada. Like they
Yeah, but maybe that was the problem was the registry, because if what I remember, one of the main motivators for eliminating the registry was the way that it was implemented, not the fact that the registry existed. Right, I think that was kind of a bit of an auxiliary problem. It's like, oh, okay, well, all these hunters in the bush, now they've got one more piece of paper that they can forget, and if they get caught, now suddenly they're a criminal, right? Yeah, I don't agree with that. Maybe there's some more efficient way for us to administer that, where it's like electronic, like clearly you are the owner of this firearm. Yeah. If we just cross-reference this in our system, we'll be able to verify that. That to me seems like it makes sense. But the idea of having one, I don't think it's a bad idea for cops to know if they're going into a home that could potentially have firearms. I don't think it's a bad idea. Like, people can talk about that as if it's Big Brother or whatever, but I have a Big
Brother. He's a dickhead, but it's not that bad.
But I think that's like, we do have to be cognizant of that. Yeah. Like, we can't let that become like a creeping thing where everybody, okay, we're just gonna like take stock of all the knives in your house now. And now we're gonna take stock of all the cameras in your house, slope. Right? Well, no, but anybody who talks that way sounds like Alex Jones, who's, hey, guess what? We have more YouTuber subscribers than Alex Jones now. New development. But anybody who says that stuff sounds like a conspiracy theorist. Yeah. But you got to balance your position. That's all I got to say. It can't be one way or the other. You got to, like, reasonable people can be reasonable when talking about this stuff. Yeah. And come to some compromised position where everybody kind of goes like, okay, we all reasonably feel safe and that our privacy is protected in all of this. I don't know. Everybody should lighten the fuck up.
Yeah. Oh, well, hey, I can't argue with that.
Jay, we did almost 2 hours.
Well, we completely walked over our 1 hour. Our set mandate of 1 hour. Yeah.
If we were playing a show at a club right now, the promoter would be losing his shit, going like, seriously? I told you could play for 35 minutes. Get the fuck off stage. Anyways, folks, anybody who's listening to us right now, thank you so much for coming back and checking us out again. And we're excited to be bringing this to you, maybe on a less frequent basis, but maybe on a more regular basis.
Technically more frequent than what it's been last year. Yeah. But yes.
Less frequent than it was initially. Yes. But now we're
coming back.
In the words of Aerosmith, back in the saddle again. I've been waiting to do that the whole time. So, Jason, do you have some words of wisdom to share with us?
Words of wisdom. I forgot I did that as well. So I forgot I did the sign off, and I forgot I did the beer, I guess, profile.
Tune in next time when Jason is more prepared. No, I have no words of wisdom, but I do appreciate everybody who's listening to this and everybody who has come up to us telling us that they have enjoyed the podcast when we were doing it initially. We're going to try to do it as much as we can. We are busy people, clearly, and we like doing it. And anybody who wants to come and sit and chat with us, feel free to give us a shout. Hit us up on Facebook and or YouTube, wherever. And we can work something out. So until next time, I guess.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.